Hey everyone, it's Types, and the Pokemon TCG has a ton of cards in it that synergize with each other in a very direct manner. Like this Lunatone here, a really powerful card which says that you can only use its ability if you have a Solrock in play, but it lets you discard a fighting energy from your hand to draw 3 cards. A really nice ability there. On the other hand, we also have Solrock. Solrock is a card, obviously you need it in play for Lunatone, but it actually goes the other way as well, and references it back with its attack here, Cosmic Beam. You can only use if you have Lunatone in play, you do 70, and that's pretty solid for one fighting there. Again, there are a ton of cards that reference each other. Some are just one way, some are two ways. But while some are good, like Lunatone and Solrock, there are some that are really bad. So say I'm going over a bunch that are really bad. I was going to do 10, but decided to do more because I think they kind of group into categories. And as you can see, there's a bunch of really interesting cards. I don't know if interesting is the right word. They are probably cards you're not familiar with, but tell me in the comment section if you see a card here that you're not familiar with that piques your interest a little. I mean, or not, right? Let's be honest. Most of these cards aren't super good. I mean, they're bad, right? That's kind of the point of the video. But actually, the first one we're starting with, funnily enough, is Sizzlipede, which is a little interesting. This first category of cards, these are cards that synergize with one card or a group of cards. I will say, not every card on this list names one specific card. Some name a group of cards, though the ones that name a group of cards pretty much, funnily enough, actually only refer to a group that contains one card. So Sizzlebeat here is the first card with the attack Bug Out. This is an attack that says you reveal the bottom 7 cards of your deck. You do 50 damage for each Pokemon you find there with the attack Bug Out. Then you shuffle the Pokemon back in your deck, discard the other cards. And Bug Out's actually a pretty cool deck in the next expansion, which features more Pokemon with Bug Out. Because in Standard right now, the only Pokemon with Bug Out is Sizzlipede. So this is super bad. It's clunky. It's expensive to pay relatively. I mean, it's not the most expensive attack, but it's not very easy to pay. And I mean, it's just not interesting. It's theoretically interesting, but it's very bad. Again, though, this card will be certainly not too bad with the next expansion featuring more Bug Out Pokemon. I definitely think it's the best deck from the new set, or sorry, the best new deck from the new set. The new set being Delta Rain there, but not the best deck from Pitch Black. Bug Out is definitively not really viable at all in Standard right now, though again, that will change in the future. We also have this Great Tusk. Great Tusk is a card that is, and Bug Out is something that is coming out in the future. The rest of these in this kind of category are ones that are more so relics of the past, and this actually has to do with the fact that Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces kind of overlap with a bunch of things mechanically, because they're both focused on the Paradox Pokemon, the Ancient Future Pokemon, and Great Tusk is no exception to that. And Great Tusk has an attack, Land Collapse. You discard the top card of your opponent's deck for 2 colors, but if you played an Ancient Supporter this turn, then you mill 3 more there. This is, I mean, at one point, a pretty solid discarding deck. Not like that good, but not bad. Probably the best at what it did, because that list isn't very strong, but this card in Standard now only has one Pokemon, or one card that is Ancient, that is a supporter, which is Explorer's Guidance. A card that is underrated, but it's not, some crazy powerhouse of a card. It's just okay. And then on top of that, it's also a card here that it's one card, right? So you can have up to 4 copies of it. Previously, you could have 8 copies, and hitting an Ancient Supporter wasn't too bad with Professor Saw's Vitality. On top of that, Great Tusk also had some other stuff going for it. But again, it has this group of cards that only refers to one card. At one point, referred to multiple, but now it's just one. Next up, we have Dartrix. This one I actually talked about, and I mentioned this in the video where I was talking about, actually foreshadowing or kind of talking about this video, and in that video I was talking about the expansion Shrouded Fable, and I said, I want to make this video about these cards that are like packages or combos or synergies or something. Recording videos before I post them, so I'm actually not sure of the name. I suppose tell me if you have a good name as well in mind in the comment section. That would be useful. Hopefully I've decided on something really good that you'll actually see, but it could be just be testing some different things. So I suppose we'll find out about that. But regardless, this card is from Shrouded Fable. The attack United Wings for 1 color, doing 20 for each Pokemon discard pile with United Wings. So the question is, how much damage does this max out at? And the answer is 60. Well, maybe you could do 80. I'm not sure if there's a way to do 80 with this, but I think it's 60. Because the only Pokemon United Wings is Dartrix. There were some more. There were 3 others as well as another card with some synergy there. And United Wings was an honestly interesting and decent deck there. That being said, it's not a deck now, right? Like it's super bad because this is the only Pokemon with United Wings. Then the next card here is in a similar boat, as I said, which is Mousehold. This one has the attack Familial March. This says for 1 color to search your deck for up to 2 in any combination of Mousehold and Mousehold EX and put them onto your bench. And yeah, there's only one Mousehold, right? Which is this one. Previously, again, there were some Mouseholds and Mousehold EXs that had synergy for having a bunch of Mouseholds in play. I will say they weren't like that good, so this card was never really a card that you wanted to play, I don't think. And let me double check on that because there is, I think, 3 Mousehold that kind of wanted to play this way. Yeah, there's this Mousehold from Paldean Fates. There was this Mousehold from Paldea Evolved, and then there was this Mousehold EX from Paradox Rift, and all these cards have rotated. So yeah, oh wait, sorry, this one first came out in Scarlet and Violet base set. So there were these 3 Mouseholds, and they all had synergy having Mouseholds in play. They were cool cards, I suppose, but again, this whole archetype, quote-unquote archetype, it was never really very good, or a deck that was really played, but yeah, theoretically this Mousehold helps them, I guess. I mean, it's not even that good, to be honest, but on top of that, obviously, then now it doesn't do any of that because those cards aren't in standard. Of course, with these cards, if you're playing them in expanded, they have something, and some are not too bad, I suppose. Honestly, United Wings might be a legitimately viable deck. I'm not quite well versed enough in expanded, but I feel like it should be not bad. But Mousehold is pretty bad, even with the synergies, but without synergies, it's just useless. Pretty much useless. You have the second attack, which I guess could be worse. Speaking of useless, I mean, these cards are all, let's be honest, kind of useless for the most part, unless I miss some hidden gem here. But TM Machine is an item here that says you search for up to 3 Pokemon tools that have Tactical Machine in their name, reveal and put them into your hand, then shuffle. This card is not good because there's only one Tactical Machine. The Tactical Machine that it searches for is actually really bad as well, which is the Technical Machine Fluorite. This card is just so bad. It's really terrible. A card that I think is one of the worst cards in the game, to be honest. And Tactical Machine, which, speaking of bad, it's like a terrible name, right? This name is so bad. But this card just ultimately is a card that searches for a terrible card. And, I mean, this card wasn't really good before, but it's a card I have played with. You can pair it with, like, some Rotom stuff, but it's kind of sketchy. Ultimately, though, it was a funny card at first. This card, I think, got printed late. Internationally, it was supposed to be like a promo card, maybe. I'm not sure all the details, but it's obviously not good here. And again, there might be other cards that I have missed in this video, so tell me those. Obviously, I have more to go, but tell me if there are any that I have missed, or any, again, that I have that are hidden gems that I didn't realize. And I guess while you're down there, make sure you subscribe and like, because that really does help support me in the channel. The next card we have here is Drifblim. This card is, now we're getting into like the quote regular ones that are doing what they're intended. Actually, this Drifblim only kind of does that. Theoretically, it has some synergy with a Drifloon that wasn't standard. Previously, that's not standard anymore. The one that was playing Gardevoir. And you have like self-damaging synergy, but honestly, it doesn't really work for that because the way the attack costs and stuff play out. But anyways, this Drifloon here has an attack. Everyone Explode now, a really funny card. This was a pre-release promo as well. I did actually get it in my pre-release, and I cut it, but that was probably wrong. But this deck and card is funny. It has 50 feature Drifloon in play, presumably doing as much as 200. Could do more if you like somehow cheat out Drifblims, but it's pretty hard there. And then you do 30 damage to each of your Drifloon and Drifblim in play as well. The ones that are increasing your damage, you also damage them. Very bizarre. It was a Drifloon that increased its damage based on the damage it had on it, which was a cool card, I suppose, but that's not even in standard. Even when it was in standard, this card wasn't very good. Ultimately, damaging yourself isn't super good, obviously, and the damage isn't that good either. In regards to how good these cards are, this is probably one of the better ones, but also it's really funny. I mean, obviously I want to highlight bad cards here, but I also want to highlight funny cards, and this one is pretty funny, and you can still play, and it does something. Then we have the next card here, which is Veluza. In a similar boat, there is also and you can see Kofu on this card, obviously the card you're referencing, because some of these reference kind of themselves, but Veluza here references a very specific card in Kofu. And by the way, there's a bunch of cards that we'll get to, honestly, a good chunk of them that reference certain supporters. That's a pretty common thing, or other trainers, but Veluza references Kofu. Honestly, a card that might be good at some point with Delta Rain. I do want to mention that. With Bug Out, I haven't looked at too many lists, though I think there's legitimately something there. But certainly, I don't think Veluza is the card you want to add. You have this attack here at Food Prep, which is So you have this ability Food Prep, which reduces your attack cost by 1 color for each Kofu in your discard. Kofu is a very mediocre supporter, not one that's really worth mentioning too much. Again, it has some synergy with the Bug Out deck, but that's not a real deck currently either. And then you have this attack here, Sonic Edge, for 4 colorless. By the way, the spoiler does not discard cards. If the spoiler discard cards, I think it would be it would make a lot more sense. But it's 4 colors to do 110, and you hit through effects as well. This card, again, theoretically can be free. If it's free, it's good. If it's 1 energy, it's not bad. If it's 2 energy, I would say at that point it's getting to be not very impressive. And then obviously, 3 energy, it's going to be not like very underwhelming, I'd say. And for 4 energy, it's pretty bad. And obviously it starts off at 4 energy, and it's not very good. And then there is the Crabominable. Crabominable this one was also actually pre-released from also from Stellar Crown. This card has seen some play in Slowking. It's not played in Slowking anymore. It's not really good at all in Slowking. There's no reason to play it because of, I think, the main thing that power crept it would be the Metagross. There's also another card that does something that's like the same, though I don't remember. Oh, Conkeldurr, I guess, would be the card that does the same thing here. But regardless, I think this is actually better than Conkeldurr if I'm not, or sorry, worse than Conkeldurr if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, Crabominable here is a Pokemon that is, again, not very good here. This like niche synergy. There are worse cards, I guess. I mean, it does 250. This one's actually 1 more energy as well. It's 5 energy, so it can be reduced down to 1 water there. But obviously not a super good card because Kofus are not that good of a card and hard to get in the discard and stuff like that. Then we have the next card here. This one, I don't know if it counts, but I kind of want to include it. And this is a Weezing. It has the first attack Pervasive Gas, just a lovely attack name there. What it does is you, for 1 Darkness, you do 30 and Confuse. And then we see the second attack, Crazy Blast, after you use Pervasive Gas. Just like a weird card here. Weezing's a bit of a weird Pokemon. This is really weird with the names. Darkest Colors to do 50, but you do 170 if you use Pervasive Gas. I don't know why I keep saying glass. Last turn. There we go. So you can do some like decent damage. I guess good damage, though not like broken, for 2. And then you only do this, again, if you attacked with Pervasive Gas last turn, and it's this Pokemon, right? So it probably just gets knocked out, right? Or they could gust around, theoretically, and that would reset it. But the big thing is this is just, it's just not very good, right? Quite simply, Pervasive Gas is not a very substantially disruptive attack, and attacking back-to-back is pretty rough here. This card doesn't exactly count because it's referring to a specific attack, and obviously that only refers to this card, but it is itself as well, so I don't know if it necessarily counts, but I want to include it because it's kind of goofy as well. Then we have this Meowstic here. This Meowstic's actually a card that's somewhat interesting. It has seen a tiny bit of play. It has this ability, Beckoning Tail. This is a really interesting ability. I imagine most of you don't know about these cards for the most part. But this card might actually pique some of your interest because Beckoning Tail says you must discard a Chill Teaser toy, which is an item we'll get to in a moment, from your hand in order to use this ability, and then you get 2 Gust. You get 2 Gust with this ability. It is once per turn. Not sure if that really matters, but anyways, you have this ability that is a Gust if you discard a certain item, and the item isn't very good, and it's kind of awkward having to do this very specific combo, but in some ways this might be worth it if you are looking for an alternate Gust option to boss. Is it good? I mean, it's not that good, but it is an option. Then we have, of course, the card Chill Teaser Toy. Chill Teaser Toy is a weird card. It's an item. You can only play it turn 1 going second, though, and then it discards an energy, it puts an energy from your opponent's hand in. Puts an energy from your opponent's board into their hand. There we go. This is obviously not super useful. Getting rid of energies is fine. Returning it to hand is obviously not as good as discarding it, right? And then also, which is what I thought it did before I just read it here, because again, I haven't played this card really and forgot it. But this card is pretty bad, right? This card is more or less unplayable. Half your games it will be unplayable because you go first, and then the other half it's playable only turn 1, and it's like okay. I mean, how much energy is your opponent really committing to board turn 1? Probably 1, maybe 2, sometimes none. Probably honestly like averaging 1 energy, so it does something, but you can't then play more than 1 of this card. And it's just like I'd say, I mean, yes, it does more than Crushing Hammer if Crushing Hammer flips tails. So, and on average, it's better when you play it, but obviously you're not playing it most of the time. So this card is unfortunately just really bad. And honestly, the combo of Meowstic and Shilte's toy with the consistent turn one energy disruption alongside an alternate gusting option is interesting, and there might be something to it, but also let's be honest, it's not very good here. Then we have another card that interacts with a specific trainer, which is this Crobat here. This is another one from Shroud Fable, which I talked about in that video. This has this ability Shadow Envoy, which says you can only use this ability if you play Janine's Secret Art. Janine's Secret Art is honestly not a bad card at all. This Crobat, let me see. Yeah, has not seen any play in the Limitless database, but Janine's is a solid energy acceleration supporter to Darkness Pokemon. It poisons them, which can be bad, but can be good if you want to poison them for specifically, I believe, biting Mochi. I guess there's also the stuff it was intended to be paired with as well, which would be the Okidogi EX. But regardless, you have this supporter card, which accelerates energy, which is fine. And then you have this draw ability. Draw abilities are not bad. This is not the worst draw ability in the game. Well, draw abilities can be really good. A lot of them are not super impressive. The really bad ones would be something like Porygon Z, Chandelure, which they have these other gimmicks that make him kind of usable within their decks that aren't super good. But then you look to like Crobat. Crobat's still pretty bad. And you get to draw until you have 8 cards in hand. This is nice. And, playing Janine's Secret Art is good. But in order to play Janine's Secret Art, you need to have Darkness Pokemon. You can accelerate 2. So you need your attackers on board. And Crobat's not really an attacker here that's worth it. It does, I'll just say 140 for 2, which is kind of disappointing. Can do it a little more there. But you don't want to really Janine's to Crobat. So you want 2 other Darkness Pokemon to Janine's too, which are your attackers. So you have your attacks in play. Now you have your energy in play as well. And then you have this other stage 2. So if you have a stage 2 and multiple attackers with an energy on them, that's probably like enough, right? I mean, sure, getting some extra draw isn't bad. You're not going to complain about it, but this payoff for the setup is pretty bad there. And yeah, you just want to play some better. I mean, stage 2 draw engines aren't very good in general, but this one definitely is, I'd say, pretty disappointing. I'd say just play Quavel. Yeah, Quavel from Surging Spark says you put a card from your hand on the bottom, then draw to your 5. And also the other issue is, what if you don't have those other Pokemon in play? Then you're wasting your supporter there, right? So Quavel works like in general. And Quavel isn't a good card. This card I don't know if I've seen ever. It's pretty bad. Oh, I guess yeah, I think I've seen it in Mamoswine, but again, not very good there. Then we have the next card here. This is with Tarragon, which is a supporter that recovers fighting Pokemon and energy from your discard into your hand. An okay card. It sees play within the Okidogi, I guess the Blood Moon Luna decks, which either play Okidogi or Lunatone Solrock. I've seen both builds of that, and I think there's a little bit of overlap. Oh, there's also the Barbaracle in there sometimes as well. Kind of shifted to Okidogi with Barbaracle. I was like, why did it shift to that? But yeah, so regardless, you have Tarragon, a solid supporter. But then if you play Tarragon, then you just got the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and you normally just do 80 for 3, but now you also discard, like, you mill 3. This is a theme that you see in some different fighting Pokemon, where they like do some damage, like some solid-ish damage, and then mill a little bit. Mill isn't super good. I mean, I mentioned Great Tusk. Great Tusk, again, wasn't super good. And on top of that, it also, it like was one of the better options at what it did. This is just not very good. It's expensive, and it's so weird as well. I don't really get the synergy here. Some of these kind of have some synergy or multiple interesting effects. These effects aren't that interesting and don't really go together. Theoretically, a synergy could be like, I mean, you are fighting Pokemon, right? So that's some synergy, but it's pretty bizarre. Then we have the next card here, Superior. This is one that if you played Rose Encouragement, if Rose Encouragement is in your discard, you do 150 more. So you're doing, by the way, the first deck is not like too bad. This was also a pre-release promo, which was kind of bizarre. I guess it makes sense as a pre-release promo, but I certainly don't love it. I made a video talking about the pre-release promos, and this one feels kind of meh, but able to do 250 here if you have Rose's Encouragement in your discard. And Rose's Encouragement is a supporter. This card sees in play in Dragapult, accelerating 2 basic energy from your discard to one of your stage 2 Pokemon in play if you're down on prizes. This is, I guess, not the worst combo, but it was actually really bad in Build and Battle because it was like really hard to play Rose's Encouragement. You need a stage 2 in play, you need energy in this card, and you need obviously the Rose in your hand. So it's kind of like, I'd say Rose is like a bad Crispin. I mean, it does accelerate more energy, and sometimes getting it from the discard is better than from the deck, especially with Crispin, or you need 2 different types of energy from your deck. But this isn't a video about Rose's encouragement. It's about the superior here, and the superior is not very good. Could be worse, and there is some legitimate synergy. So again, it could definitely be worse, but it's not very good. Then we have Vikavolt from the new expansion Pitch Black. This goes alongside the Zarude from Pitch Black. These both synergize with the new special energies, which when I say synergize with them, I mean the Zarude doesn't have really much synergy at all. It does require bench Pokemon to have the new special energy, which does protect them from bench damage. Honestly, the new special energy is just not very good, and this card is also not super good. It does a 170 for 3, technically. I mean, it does 100 base damage, then 70 more if you have a Shadowy Dark Synergy on your bench. Of course, then you need another energy, which is now a special energy, which you can't really accelerate very easily now because it's on a different Pokemon. So that's kind of awkward, and I mean, it's just not very impressive here, to be honest. It's a kind of nothing card here. Again, not necessarily the worst, but not very good. Then we have Vikavolt here. Vikavolt is also pretty bad. This one was actually in Build and Battle, and in Build and Battle, it's actually not too bad, I suppose. This is, I kind of want to include these cards because I think they're interesting to talk about and certainly not very good, right? But you are able to do 260 for 2 energy here, but you do need Voltaic Lightning Energy on it. That increases the damage you do to your opponent's active, and then with increased damage, you're hitting an okay number, but I mean, this attack isn't very impressive, and funnily enough, Quick Dive also doesn't necessarily have very good synergy with Voltaic Lightning Energy because that requires you to be hitting your opponent's active, and with Quick Dive, you're sometimes hitting their bench. So overall, just I really don't like this card. I think the synergy is pretty mediocre, and the card is obviously just not very good either. Then we have the next card. This one is really bad. This is Malamar. If you know me, you know I think 06 Machinations is not a particularly good card. And in fact, it's not good. That being said, it has a place, kind of, but then here it has to have a place, because in order to use Colluding Tentacles for 1 Darkness, which what it does is it gusts a Pokemon and then does 120 to it. So it's like the snipe attack. It hits in the active, which could be good, or probably I mean, it is probably better. Also, it is a gust. Technically, you could like gust something and then get it like stuck or something like that. Though obviously the goal is probably to ideally knock it out. But you have this attack here that does, I mean, it does some, like, it's not that good, right? Let's be honest. It's not terrible. I actually tried this card, funnily enough, on live when I went to try it and it just didn't work. I don't know why this card was glitched on live. Well, okay, let's be honest. It's glitched on live because who would like test this card out? And I guess they just didn't test it out, but it still didn't work. Like, it just straight up didn't work. But speaking of not working, Malamar can't attack, obviously, unless you play 06 Machinations. 06 Machinations is a card that you can't play all the time. You can only play it if your opponent has more than 3 cards in their hand. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything, and you're not allowed to play cards that don't do anything. So then you just you can't attack. You can't attack if your opponent has too many or not enough cards in their hand. Technically, there is some synergy here with the Malamar, because then you're encouraging them to play more Pokemon, and then if they played more Pokemon, then Malamar has better targets to Gust and Snipe. But then if they play too many, you just like can't attack. So, I mean, technically you could somehow increase their hand size and then like discard or something like that. But I mean, this Malamar is just really bad. In some ways, kind of inspired this video and the Shroud Fable one as well. Then we have Arven's Green. This one's weird. Honestly, the Arven's Pokemon, they're really bad. I don't know if they're the worst set of trans Pokemon, but they are some of the worst. I mean, they're pretty bad, to be honest. Like, in general. Let me see, Arven's. So we have the green. This one recovers Arven's Sandwich, which is kind of funny. Arven's Sandwich heals 130 from your active Arven's Pokemon. Otherwise heals 30. Honestly, not like super terrible. It's not a power creep potion, but it kind of is, because it can heal more, but obviously only on Arven's, but only heals the active. Arven's Mabosif has synergy there, but I mean, this like Arven's Green is just such a random card. I bet most of you probably don't know this card exists. I bet there's probably a good chunk of you that don't know Arven's Pokemon exist. I mean, again, they're just not good, and they're not very interesting either. Honestly, a lot of these cards make, like this video is kind of being made because these cards, obviously, they're not very good, but there's lots of cards that aren't very good, but these cards aren't interesting and they're just weird, but not very interesting. So Arven's Green, I think, meets that criteria. Again, Arven's Sandwich healing is not terrible. Technically, and this is, again, on play. This is a card that's 1 time recover 2 Arven's Sandwiches. Technically, it's a card that kind of heals 260, I believe, which is not terrible, but like it's not actually going to heal 260. But if your opponent hits Arven's Mabosif EX for 260, then I guess it heals 260. kind of, but really that's not what this card is actually doing here, right? So just a super strange thing here. Then the last card here, this is another one that kind of inspired this one. This is Musharna. Musharna is bizarre. This card searches for any number of Fennel cards and then reveals them, puts them into your hand. And if you don't know what Fennel does, Fennel's actually not that bad. I mean, it's not that good either, but it heals 40 damage from each of your Pokemon. It's a mediocre healing card, or it's like a kind of bad healing card, but it could be a counter to a Frostlass deck. I actually played against someone playing this. I think it was Festival Lead, and it was an interesting tech option. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. I mean, they weren't able to win, but scared me for a second there. So kind of funny there, but like, why do you need to search for them? Why would you want a bunch of Fennel cards? It doesn't really have any synergy here because you put them to sleep with the other attack. Like, what even is this card? Why is there a search card for Fennel? I don't know. This is just a not good card. Again, as there are quite a few of, and yeah, I mean, Musharna, I don't really know what's going on with this card. It doesn't really make, I mean, it makes some like thematic sense, I guess, but in terms of gameplay, it doesn't really make any sense there. But anyways, tell me in the comment section what your thoughts are on these cards, if there are any that you want to play with, because there's some that are kind of fun here. Probably not Musharna and Fennel, but maybe someone can tell me a use for it in the comment section. Even in casual play, like this isn't very good. And like weird silly casual play, and also in weird silly casual play, these cards aren't that good because they require these more specific synergies. They just don't have very good payoffs. You look at something like Lunatone Solrock that is, if you're just opening a few packs and playing with whatever you get from those, then they probably won't be good because you probably can't use them. But Musharna won't be good in that more casual silly play and won't be good in more serious competitive play because it's just not good either. So overall, tell me, if there anything that you liked from this video, and if you did, make sure you like the video and subscribe. Also, huge shout out to my YouTube members, and of course, as always, I'd love to see your thoughts on any other videos you want me to make in the comment section. But I hope you all enjoy, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.